Hey everybody, this is the KIAS V2 candy. I think it's candy, that's kind of an assumption. We're just going to go with that. This is a follow-up video to the review I just did on the KIAS V1 candy. These are both stainless steel. This one's bead blasted, I believe, and this one's polished. I much prefer the bead blasted one. But very different construction on these, and we're going to go into detail here in just a short moment. So let's just talk about the basic differences, and we'll move on to maybe taking it apart, get into the details of the construction and everything. So this one is they're both ball sliders. And I believe if you watched the video on the V1 that I believe the intention of the design on this is the fact that it has these rails on the outside that run on the outside to keep it lined up leads me to believe that this was designed to be used with or without balls. So without the balls in, and it's just a little refresher from the last video, but it works really well as a slider in that sense. So this one is a ball slider, but it's also a captured slider. And when I say captured, I just mean that the pieces don't come apart. And I have some other examples of that to show you here too. But I believe also, just like this one, the design intent is to either use it with balls or without balls. And I have other reasons to believe that. It actually came with some Teflon tape, and we'll try that actually to see how that works, even though I'm not a fan of Teflon tape. But yeah, I believe it is either to be used with balls or without balls as a three level track slider without balls. So we'll move on from there. Yeah, so what I think I was trying to say there is that I would consider this a 3-level slider. And more specifically, I would consider it a 3-level captured slider. And when I say captured, I just mean that it's captured in a sense that it doesn't easily fall apart on you. And that means it falls into a category of, and these are kind of in order of, I think, appearance. When they first came on the market, this was the CP5. This is the 01 EDC. And after that, the 01 Pod, another 3-level captured slider. And lastly, this monstrosity that I made, and that would be the Top B slider, 2 Top B sliders with a brass insert in the middle. And yeah, that's a whole story by itself. But, you know, there you have some examples of 3-level captured sliders. We can move on to the next part. Okay, so let's talk construction. It's very unusual, very difficult to figure out at first. In fact, when I got this, I believe, you know, this plate has to be on this side and this plate has to be on that side. That's a given. You'd figure that out yourself when you try to put it together because of the polarity of the magnets. But you can have this plate put on backwards, and I think that's how it arrived to me, which really threw a bunch of confusion into it. It's just one of the reasons I don't do unboxing videos. I need some time to figure this crap out. And what I did figure out, like many of these designs, is when it's in its closed format is when it opens up. That's where the sort of the keys and the keyways line up. So right now it's a ball slider, well, track ball slider, whoops. And if you noticed, it only travels 1 click, well, 2 clicks in that direction, but 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks in this direction. Very nice. I'm pleased with it, but it's more interesting that we just talk about the construction right now. So right now it's got balls in it, 4 on each level, so 8 balls altogether. And the easiest way to get it apart that I found was to get yourself a nice thin, sharp blade, and maybe start up here on a corner, get in there, and just turn the blade sideways a little bit. Whoops, someone closed on me. And then it will open right up for you. So we'll take those balls. And the balls, let's measure those quick because they are odd. Well, that's not right. These calipers are garbage. I really need to replace them. Oh, we're in, you know what, I wanted to be in millimeters. There we go. 2.86. 2.86. Weird size. Anyhow, we got the top part off. You'll see the keyway lines up here and here. But you can accidentally put it on this way. That just throws things out of whack. So just keep that in mind. This plate, like I said, can only go on this side because of the polarities. You'll figure that out, but just make sure that these keyways and the key line up. So other side, same thing. Four more balls. These are the nylon balls. It came with some silicone nitride balls, but they're just, it's way too scratchy and clacky, I think, for that. So now we have all these pieces. Now, there's a little piece of tape on here. That's me. That's I discovered after I got this. It's secondhand, and I discovered there was a little bit of a problem with a magnet here. I'll show you that in a second. But there we have all 3 parts, and the next thing we'll do is just go over these red parts in a little bit more detail, and then we'll put her together without the balls. So let's take a closer look at this middle piece here. There's some red plastic inserts, and I don't know if you can see, probably in the reflection there you can see a little bit, some interesting Chinese characters. And on this side it just says, let me see if I can look through the lens here, KIAS 2023. And I thought, well, that's interesting, it's red. Yeah, I just figured it's a decoration, and I still think it's a decoration, but here what happened was I was figuring out how this worked, and I put it all back together, and I was using, I believe, without the balls in it, and it started to make a weird noise, and that's a good time to stop. Anytime you hear your haptic making a strange noise, don't force it, don't do anything, just stop everything and take it apart. Because sure enough, one of these popped loose. Now this is the side that's being temporarily bandaged with some tape, but this is a side that's the same as that side. This is how it works. If I push from underneath, this little piece comes out, and there's a magnet on there. And I have no idea what it's there for other than for decoration. So if anybody has an idea of what that's about, please let me know. And this side's the same way, exactly the same way, except if you can see, half the magnet's missing. So I have the call out to people on the Facebook groups. I need it's a 5mm by 1mm thick magnet. So thin, so small. I only need one, and you can only buy them in a minimum package of like 100. And it's not that much, but it's ridiculous to buy that many. And they're so small and thin. I mean, it's 1mm. I'll never use them for anything else. But next step would be to use this without the balls. So let's give that a shot. Let's find out. Oh, also here's the number designation. I am appears to be number 78 out of 100. But again, we want to line up the keyway and the key. Let's see if we got the right side because they attracted. Let's well, I won't even demonstrate. Now this side, again, line up the keyway and the key. Now it's together without the balls. It's a little sticky, and I've looked at it. I took a close look at it today and gave it some thought, and I think it's just inherent to the design. I don't think there's much you can do about it. I don't think any lubrication or anything is going to make much of a difference. It's just this tight tolerance between, I can't even begin to show you probably, but this internal groove down underneath here and the part of the tab that part of that key and keyway system that slides into that is so thin that there's not a lot of room for play, or there's too much room for play. I don't know. But either way, I prefer it better this way, just like the V1 without the balls in it. I prefer it without the balls in it. Again, this one only goes that far in the opposite direction, which is something by itself. But over here you get 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, like I said, I'm almost absolutely certain that these are designed to be either ball sliders or just track sliders, because this one came with these weird little, must be Teflon stickers. So I looked it over, and I'll show you where I think they go, and we'll go ahead and put them on. Again, let's try listening to this once and see if you can hear the scratchiness, if you can hear that at all. Turn it over. Not that there's much scratchiness in there, but now you got a good sampling of what that sounds like. Let's go ahead and put in these Teflon Teflon protection stickers. Being careful not to cut myself. It's a little tricky to get this apart. Like I said, I should be able to show this to you. Maybe not. But the little ears, there's two little ears that stick out right here and right here. And they're very, very, very thin. So that's kind of what the issue is with that. Now back to these things. So it's pretty darn close. If I overlay that, it looks like it's intended to go there. So we'll put one on there. Now these two little side pieces, I don't think that they'll, it looks like they're meant to maybe go around here on the top and the bottom, but let's just skip that because I don't see, I must be confused with that because I just don't see how that would be beneficial in any way mechanically. So let's try this. If I can do this without damaging them. You know what? I'm going to have to get the little Swiss Army knife, trusty Swiss Army knife out. Okay. And I'm not going to be too careful about this because I am not a tape or a Teflon guy. And it's probably all going to come right back off. But that pretty much covers that one fairly well. And incidentally, I do have an extra set. Flip it over. Gonna end up covering up my number there, number 78. So, oh, it stuck to my finger. There we go. Okay, let's put it back together and see how it works. Once again, line up these keyways. And let's try it with let's try it with the obviously wrong side with the opposing magnets. So if you were to try to do that, it just doesn't want to let you. Okay, so it has to be the opposite side. So again, line these up. You know what? The way that just clacked together tells me that this surface on the inside isn't even touching. I don't think these plates are even touching. In other words, this is not a bearing surface. These are the bearing surfaces. We'll see. Yeah, you hear that clang? Let's give it a shot. I don't think I feel the slightest bit of something a bit different, maybe. Maybe it's the Teflon tape getting binded up in there. We'll take it apart here again and look at it, but I don't think that made a difference at all. Now let's see. Let's see if that all got damaged, because it felt like it was getting a little tight. Nope, that side's perfectly fine. That side's fine. So, I don't get it. Where else could these little Teflon things go? There's nowhere else on here that makes any sense, except right there and right there, but that doesn't make any sense. Unless... well, hell, let's try it. Uh-oh, that's coming right through the plastic. So yeah, I normally don't. No, we're not going to do that because that's starting to fall apart. I honestly don't think it would make a difference in the world. If I find out later, I'll give it to you in an update, but I'm not going to waste any more of your time with that. Let's, I'll just go ahead and leave. Actually, why the hell leave it on? Well, I'll leave it on until possibly later. I don't want to mess with all that stuff right now. But we'll go ahead and put the balls back in. Oops. There we go. Again, line up the keyway. And just like that, it's back together. Interesting piece. I don't know. Interesting. I love 3-level sliders, so for me, it's rewarding in that respect. But overall, compared to other ones in the same category, specifically the ones I showed you earlier, we'll compare them in size here again here shortly, but this is not a great performer. Not when it's with balls and not when it's without the balls. On the other hand, the V2, I'm pretty pleased with that. And that's without the balls. Or is it with the balls? Oh, I'm sorry, I did put the balls back in. Let's put her back here again. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the stuff. So this with the balls in it, like I said, I think I prefer it without the balls in it. But let's go ahead and finish this up with some comparisons, and we'll do weights and measurements. So let's just get the stuff out we had before. Compare the V1 and the V2. The V1 is just a little bit thinner, but then of course the overall body size are the same. The Mackie CP5, that's a thin one to begin with. But you can see the CP5 is a little shorter. It's not nearly as thick and a hair less wide. Now this gets closer to being the same, well, a little closer. not the not the Mackie. It's the 01 EDC 01 EDC slider. It is approximately, well, it's a little bit shorter, about the same thickness, a little less thick, and about the same width. And finally, what I always have out for comparison, because I think most people probably have one or have handled one at least, is the Mackie CP3. So there you have it. Let's check on the weight. A little over 100 grams, about 102. Dimensions are about 49 millimeters. About 16 millimeters thick. That's with the balls. It'd be a little thinner without them. And then the width about 25. So there you have it. The KIAS V2 candy. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to try and answer them. Oh, I was going to say, if you're out looking for one of these on AliExpress, there are getting few and hard to find, but you will find some imitations out there. So the key things to look for, because you'll find an imitation of both of these, plastic or PEI or Ultim. So you want to look for, if you're getting the two level slider here, like a V1, it has to have these grooves on here on the side and the little edges. And then for the V2, you want to look, this is the key thing to look for, is this little well down in here, because that's where that key and keyway go together, and that needs to have space on the inside to travel. So that's how you can tell the difference between a real V2 and a copy. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.